Today you'll discover the 3 most overlooked strategies when it comes to working remotely. If you just adopt one of these strategies, you'll see your productivity get a nice boost. Welcome to the Ben Fanning Show, where high achievers get promoted, get productive, and get the corner office. Make sure to like and subscribe to this episode, and you'll be notified immediately every Wednesday when a new episode is released. There are some productivity strategies that just get missed and overlooked because they're so simple. In fact, you may have done them in the past, maybe when you were coming up in college and you applied this to your work studies, or maybe you applied it early in your career. But once we get busy and we start managing teams and we get busy with family things and our organizational work and our activities or personal activities outside of work, it's easy to lose track of these powerful productivity strategies, and thus they get overlooked time and time again. And it's just like missing opportunities all the time. So the key here is I'm going to review these 3 key productivity strategies that are so often overlooked and allow you to reabsorb them, to take them in one more time. But I'm also going to give you some real application strategies so you can actually embed them in your productivity strategy right after this and go get more done. That's right. You're going to watch this video and then go apply one of these strategies and notice a productivity acceleration where you're getting more done with less effort. So let's dig in. The first tip is to separate planning from doing. Now, planning is getting your workday ready, planning all your workday activities. And the doing, of course, is actually doing the work. And what happens is we often get our day started doing all kinds of work, getting stuff done. We don't take the time to do the planning because the planning stuff can seem wasteful. It takes quiet time and it takes focus and it can feel unproductive. Yet I'm going to demonstrate for you why it is so important and how putting a little bit of planning in your day and separate the planning from the doing can make all the difference when it comes to your productivity. When it comes to planning and doing, it's important to think about how this impacts your workday. So planning is like this. This is like creating the blueprint for the house. Now, we had our house renovated several years ago, and these are the blueprints. Now, the builder, one of the builders that were bidding on the project said, hey, I can do the planning, the architecture stuff, and the building all in one. However, we thought that might not be a great idea because the art of building is different than the art of planning. And when you mix these two together, it gets really convoluted really quickly. For example, can you think about your workday when you just go along and you're working on a project that's really important, and then you finish that project? And then when you finish that project, you stop and you say, okay, what do I need to work on next? And you start thinking about your old to-do list and what's important and trying to reprioritize, and you're wasting time during this time period. If you just spend a little time on the blueprint for your workday, you wouldn't have to build then plan, a group-like task together, spend a little bit of time designing the blueprint like the architect for your day, and then get down to business building what you need to build, working on those projects that you need to build, to work on. And so, again, separate the planning from the doing, or being the architect versus being the planner. Now what I want you to do is think about your planning to doing ratio, okay? Look at your to-do list, pull it up, or it's a mental to-do list, maybe think through it. What is the ratio of planning to do? Are you scheduling time to do a little bit of planning? Or is it all doing? And for most people that I work with, all executives included, they got lots of doing on their to-do list, but not a lot of planning. And this is a huge possibility for your productivity because it'll increase your efficiency and effectiveness because you're grouping tasks together. So you plan your day for what you're going to do in the different kinds of increments. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about that. But the key is, it doesn't really matter necessarily how much you're planning or what you're doing. Just schedule some time to plan so you make sure you're getting it in to your workday. So what is your planning to doing ratio today? And if it's like most people, again, it's probably a lot of doing and not a lot of planning. And what's a better ratio for you? For most people, I recommend trying to include 5 to 10% of your activities regarding planning, and the rest can be left to the building. And one of the big tricks here is to schedule time for planning and doing, to schedule time to create your blueprint for your day. Now, what does a good planning session look like? Well, I like to use the acronym S-T-O-P, which of course spells stop, which is what planning kind of feels like, right? You're stopping the doing and you're doing a little bit of planning. Now I'm going to walk you through S-T-O-P right now. And you can use this in your next planning session, which might be even right after this video. S stands for keeping it short. Keep it to 5 to 10 minutes to plan your workday. You usually don't need more time than that. If you keep it short, you're more likely to do it. T stands for time constraint. Set a start time and an end time for your next specific planning session. One of the great ways to do this is to use a timer on your phone for 5 to 10 minutes. You start when you hit the button and then you stop no matter where you are once you hit that time. O stands for outcome focus. How exactly are you going to put the things that you're planning into your workday? Have a to-do list, write it down so the things that you're planning you can put into different blocks on your calendar and actually get them done. P stands for protected time to plan. Some of the most successful planners I know have a recurring daily time on their calendar that it's blocked out and protected where they go and set time to plan. For many people, this is at the beginning of their workday or it's the end of their workday. I've had a few clients that like to do it over lunch because they can use the progress that they've used in the morning to help design their afternoon. The second most overlooked tip is increasing your intensity. A lot of times when it comes to productivity, we're thinking about the amount of time that we need to block out to get something done. And there's a key element that's left out, and that's intensity. Now, Cal Newport wrote a book called Deep Work, fantastic book. And one of the key formulas in this book that I want to give to you today is work accomplished is equal to time plus intensity. That's right, intensity. That's the thing that's always left out for so many high achievers. How can you apply intensity to your workday? Well, again, talking about Cal Newport here with Deep Work, he talks about time blocking. That's right, time blocking. So it's blocking a time on your calendar, sort of like what we just talked about in step 1 when it talks about a good planning session, scheduling that time. Well, imagine your day into various blocks of time. Maybe it's 30 minutes or maybe it's an hour, and you schedule one thing to do during that time period. Like for me, I'm scheduling time to do and record this video for you, and I'm applying not just time, but also intensity so I can get more of these videos done. That's right. I usually schedule not just one, but hopefully, usually if my intensity is there and it's focused on getting these done, I can get more than one done in a setting, which is more efficiency and more effectiveness. Now, when this comes to your schedule, it's really important to think about these specific time blocks, and it will help take work that used to be maybe an hour, and maybe you can get that same work done in 30 minutes. There is a law out there, or there is a principle called Parkinson's principle, or maybe it's a law. Anyway, Cyril Northcutt Parkinson wrote about this in The Economist years ago, which is that your work expands to fill the time allocated. So if I, for example, allocate 1 hour to do one video for you, guess how long that video will take to record? 1 hour. If I schedule 30 minutes, guess how long it'll take? 30 minutes. This is a great example of successful time blocking. Another great way to apply time blocking is the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato, and Francisco Cirillo is an Italian, I actually don't know exactly what his occupation is, but Francisco Cirillo founded the Pomodoro technique, and he had a timer that was shaped like a tomato. And what he did was, he would take this tomato timer and he would set a time block around that. And once that timer was over, what he would do, he would take a 5-minute break, and then he would schedule another one. And each one he would call a Pomodoro. And sometimes you hear it referred to as a POM. And so what Francisco would do is he would set 3 Pomodoros of, I believe, anywhere from like 20 to 25 minutes, followed by a 5-minute break. And then after he would do 3, he would take a bit of a longer break. So this is just a really important measure for you. After this video, set up one time block and schedule the time. Okay, it doesn't have to be a tomato timer. It could be the clock on your watch. And there are apps, there are Pomodoro apps that you can download on your phone and apply these Pomodoros to your workday. But the key is to consider time blocking with a time constraint. The third most overlooked productivity technique when it comes to remote working is leveraging your impact. And what I mean by that is right now, when we think about our personal productivity, it's productivity of one. But what I'm inviting you to consider right now when it comes to your productivity is to go from me to we, right? These other strategies I've been talking about, 1 and 2, again, have been more personal based, but when you're working remotely, it is so critical to think about how you can leverage your communication skills, your leadership impact, even your own personal productivity, so you're not just impacting your own work, but you're positively impacting the work of others. You know, if you have a team, you're definitely going to want to watch and focus in on this next productivity strategy. But even if you have people, colleagues that you work with, or maybe you just work with your leader and other leaders, but don't have a team, you can also benefit from this. Famous playwright John Hayward said, "Out of sight, out of mind." And when you're remote working, out of sight, out of mind comes into play every day because people aren't seeing you. Maybe they get an email from you, maybe they see an IM, or maybe even a video call every once in a while, but they're not seeing you in the office. There's no stopping by your office, seeing each other at the water cooler. And thus it's so easy to get left out of the communication loop. And so how in the world are you going to go from me to we in terms of your productivity impact if people don't think about you and they don't include you and you're not in the crucial conversations that you want to be in, and people aren't really thinking about your projects and the impact that you'd like to make? So there are a couple of ways to do this, but the key is to create a proactive communication cadence. So proactive meaning that you're not waiting for people to come to you so you can react. You're actually proactively going to them. Proactive communication. Communication is pretty self-explanatory. We are going to dialogue with someone and interact in conversation. And a cadence refers to a regular, ongoing communication pattern. It becomes routine and you're able to stay in front of people in a positive and productive way. So here goes. Number 1 is to ask for regular feedback. Take your ideas, your results, highlight them to the group, to other people that you're interacting with, and ask them for their insights and feedback on your projects. Next up, more importantly, ask others what they're up to and offer them positive, constructive feedback. Now, you don't want to be negative about their projects, but you want to be constructive, right? You want to add value and add ideas. And the great part about this strategy is the more valuable your ideas are to them, the more likely they're going to come to you, which makes your follow-up cadence even easier. One of the most proactive ways that you can go about creating a proactive communication cadence is highlighting your wins for the week. More importantly, highlight them to your manager so they can forward them and share them and give you positive feedback, right? And also explain to others where you'd like help and where you can help others. Providing this periodic highlight reels, kind of like the ESPN top 10 plays. People love to read this, and it doesn't have to be long. In fact, I recommend it just being a few bullets every week. This is a great way for you to track your wins as well as share it with the group. Now, you might be thinking, Ben, that sounds boastful. I get tired of seeing the wins from somebody else. Well, I tell you what, if they're tired of seeing the positive results that you're getting, maybe what they'll do is they'll start highlighting their accomplishments for the week for you and your team, and that's going to help you also communicate with them and re-engage positively with their group for future projects. So let's quickly review these strategies. Number 1 is to separate planning from doing. Number 2 is to increase the intensity of your workday by applying time blocking and even trying the Pomodoro technique. Number 3 is to leverage your impact by going me to we and creating a proactive communication cadence. Now, for your next step, take one of these strategies. That's right, just one. Maybe it was separating your planning from doing, or setting up a time block in your workday, or creating a more proactive communication cadence, whatever it happens to be for you. Just select one, and right after this video, go and apply it. So let me know in the comments which of these strategies you're going to apply to your workday, and bonus points if you even come back and let me know how that application went. If you like this video and you really want to accelerate your career, your productivity, and ultimately get the corner office, make sure to stick around for the next video.